Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Herp Monday number 12 and we have a very special treat for you. One of the natives of Madagascar. As many of you may know, Madagascar is a beautiful island with a lot of rare and endangered animals. Today we are going to be talking about the Parson's chameleon. Parson's chameleon, or scientific name Columba parsonii or parsoni. It is part of the family, you guessed it, Chameleonidae. Chameleonidae is the family of chameleons. Ooh, who would have thought? It is endemic to the old-growth forest of eastern and northern Madagascar. And endemic means that it is specific to a very small location, not necessarily a small location, but it's very specific in where it is found nowhere else in the world. So saying that means that it's only found in the old growth forest, which are your very old trees, very big trees, and only found in the eastern and northern parts of Madagascar. This is one of the few chameleon species from Madagascar that are actually legally exported. There is a legal pet trade for these, but not a lot of them are allowed to go, and we'll get into that in a little bit. The reason why I chose this is because this is actually a Madagascar chameleon that other people may have actually seen before and is viable for them to buy as their own pet. These are one of the largest chameleons in the world. They are considered the largest by weight, so as chameleons go, they are hefty boys, but they are shorter than the Malagasy giant chameleon. So you have to kind of take into account that while they may be heavier, they're not actually longer. As you can see in this picture, these get to about the size of a house cat. They can get to about 68 centimeters, which is about 27 inches. That's actually your kind of max. That's what you would normally see. That's just kind of that's the max you would ever see. As you can see from this picture and the picture before, and this picture right here, the males have ridges that run right above the eyes to the nose, which forms these two kind of warty horns, very large nasal appendages as far as chameleons go. These will be used for demonstrations while they're looking for females to guard, things like that. Basically anything you would kind of think that horns would be of use for. There are several color variants, as you could saw. Your kind of most common one is going to be these green giants. I believe this is a yellow giant. I believe this is a yellow lip or an orange eye. I don't know. All three of these are Parson's chameleons. There's a lot of debate on whether these different color morphs are actually different species or viable subspecies. If you've been around me, you know I don't personally like subspecies very much. I feel that they are a little bit overused in the scientific world, but that's just my opinion. But they definitely have a very wide range of colors that you can kind of tie to where they are. Now, the females of both of the subspecies of Parsoni, they're smaller than the males, and they're just kind of overall greenish or yellowish or just kind of brownish. They're much more muted colors. They're not going to have those hardcore ridges. They're going to be much more just kind of muted in appearance. Now, something interesting about these is these are one of the longest lived chameleon species. These will get to about 10 to 12 years in the wild. That's about how long they live. And there's been records of them getting to about 14 years old in captivity. Chameleons are not a very long-lived lizard. Some of them only go 3-4 years, especially like your cloud chameleons, things like that. So this living that long is pretty extraordinary. Now, as far as reproduction goes, the females will lay about 50 eggs, 20 to 60 eggs in an underground nest. And the eggs can take up to 2 years to hatch. Normally they're going to be closer to the year mark, but they can actually lie dormant for about 2 years. Then the young will hatch and dig themselves out of their underground nest. So as you can kind of infer by that, the parents do not contribute any care towards young. It's basically they dig a hole, they lay their nest, and then they cover it up. But as you can kind of think, because there's obviously not many of these and they only lay 50 eggs every other year, the pet trade is it's very heavily regulated, because if you start removing 30, 40, 50 eggs at a time, you're removing essentially an entire generation from one specimen. So you got to be a little bit careful, because the females will only lay like every other year. They do not have a lot of reproduction going on. It's a very slow reproductive cycle. Now, as many of you may be wondering, yes, this is one of the chameleons that can change the color of its skin. So let's actually talk about how chameleons change their skin's colors. So chameleon skin has a superficial layer. So they have a little top layer that contains a bunch of different kinds of pigments. But underneath that layer are a bunch of cells that actually have a guanine crystal, so a little mineral crystal, a lot of them, nanocrystals, completely microscopic. And how the chameleons actually change the color is they change the space between the crystals, and how the light actually reflects off those crystals. Then that actually changes the wavelength of the light reflected off the crystals. And that's what changes the color of the skin. Why are most chameleons green when they're relaxed? Well, they're relaxed because when the crystals are essentially closed, they have more of a blue pigment to them, and blue mixed with the yellow or orange that is in most of the pigment of the chameleon skin, that creates your sort of green colors. However, when they're excited and those crystals actually open up, it allows for longer wavelengths of light. Those longer wavelengths, that's how you get the yellow, the orange, and the red. Yes, the chameleons grab onto basically anything that you do give them. If so, why? That's because most chameleons are completely arboreal, meaning they live in trees. They don't want to live on the ground. Very few chameleons live on the ground. Most of them want to live in trees. And as such, they really want to be holding on to branches. They don't want to fall. That's just kind of in their nature. Now, something to note about the chameleons, most chameleons don't change for camouflage reasons. They actually are changing to, I am healthy, I am unhealthy, I'm in danger, I'm not in danger, I'm feeling good, hey girl, do you want to go out to the club? Like, it's very rarely that chameleons actually change just for strict camouflage patterns, considering that most of the times when they're in their relaxed state, they're going to have that sort of green and dappled color, which is good camouflage for the chameleons if you're living up in the trees. Now, going into the pet trade, as I said, there is some issues. It is heavily regulated, but you can get these. I'm not entirely sure where, but I'm sure you can get them. There are no licensed and regulated breeders of Parson's chameleons, but you can get them from people that have caught them in the wild. The problem is the prices of a Parson's chameleon will range about $1,500 US to about $3,000 US. And chances are you're going to be airing more on the $3,000 side than the $1,500 side. Another big issue with these is why a lot of people cannot actually take care of them very well is that chameleons actually require a very specific climate. You know, they need a lot of humidity, they need plants, they need kind of things to grab onto, they need live insects, that sort of thing. And when you take that for like your normal chameleons that are, you know, this big, and you have to have, you know, this big aquarium for them, and then you multiply that by, you know, 6, and you have a chameleon that's this big. A lot of people that are not professionals or not entirely sure what they were doing, they don't realize the size of the aquarium that you would need to take care of one of these. So best thing I can say, if you do go for a chameleon, I highly encourage it. They make incredible pets. They're very fun to play with, not too much, but they're very fun to interact with. Just make sure you know what you're getting and make sure that you're doing the best that you can for your animal. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you again. If I don't, please be safe. Have a great day. Listen, guys, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you do. I'd really appreciate it. And please give me some suggestions on what you would like for me to do on one of these. Don't forget to check our other series, Fish Fridays. But thank you guys so much again, and peace.